Hello, fellow human. Welcome back to another Dank Doggo r/ProRevenge. So, our revenge of the day is from you/anonymous bun with the title of Stingy, Narcissistic Boss Negs and Skims on Employees, so I damage his ego with some tax. Let's call my a-hole boss Eugene, since his stinginess reminds me of Eugene Krabs from SpongeBob SquarePants, except Krabs is nowhere near malicious. In order to display the full satisfaction of this revenge, I will have to describe a few, but not limited, things Eugene did that entitles him being a complete jackbutt. For the context, Eugene owns a small company that provide artistic services of some sort and never hired full-timers, which I later learned that it was due to his stinginess. Initially, when I saw the open part-time position, I thought it was ideal for me. As I had external commitments, I needed some sort of income. The job offers about $550 per month. I don't live in US, this is a rough conversation, but only required me to clock in about 90 hours of a month. It wasn't really a good offer, but good enough for me as I consider myself to be inexperienced in the field. Know that Eugene had seen my portfolio and knew my ability level before hiring me. The first couple of months was fine. I worked the hours I was supposed to and got paid accordingly, occasionally extending my shift at my own time due to the nature of the work, but I didn't mind. I guess Eugene saw this as an advantage he could exploit later on during my employment. It is important to note that Eugene would often ask about my well-being, how did I spend my weekends, etc. At this point in time, it seemed all like courtesy talk, so I didn't pay much attention to it. He would ask about my previous employment and my reason for leaving, which I answer honestly that their work system was unsuitable for me. This will be important later. Eugene gradually began to grow more impatient towards me, often blaming me for not being able to match up to his ability. Remember when I said I was inexperienced, thus the pay rate? Eugene had over a decade of experience in this expertise, and he expected me to be at his level when I was only 3 months in. The stress was intense, and I began to working longer hours just to keep up and produce work at the best quality I could. I was under the belief that if I worked hard enough, my effort will speak. Even though this was only a part-time position, I overcommitted my time there and took pride in my work. My external commitments was barely scraping by. I was exhausted, but thought I was doing a good job until Eugene spoke to me one day. Eugene pulled me in his office one day and lectured me on my work ethic. Saying that I wasn't putting enough effort, he was considerate of letting me go. At this point, I was beyond confused. Did he really not see the effort I put in? Was I delusional in thinking that I was actually doing well and my work had been improving? I tried to speak up, but he quickly diverted the topic, telling me that he knew the reason why my previous employer hated me. It was because I was lazy and uncommitted. To say I was in disbelief was an understatement. Not only did I believe that I did my best, with every task handled to me, Eugene had registered my flaws during casual conversation and twisted my words to his advantage. I had no idea how to react and simply asked him what he expected of me. He instantly replied that he would like me to double my hours working for him at the same monthly pay rate. His reasons? It's my fault that I'm not experienced enough to produce quality work, thus it should be under my own responsibility and time to make up for it. My external commitments didn't matter, he said, as this job was my only source of income and should be kept as a priority. It finally dawned to me that Eugene was a narcissistic sociopath who was only held conversations so that he could learn a person's weaknesses for his manipulation. Now, if you have read my title, you'll see that Eugene was not only a narc, but also stingy AF. Eugene is obsessed with maximizing his profits. Any business would love that, I agree, but Eugene is down to every cent in immoral and even possibly illegal ways. He would sell a service to a client and upon receiving a deposit, deliver something else. He was smart enough to keep his contracts vague for both clients and employees so that nobody could not take legal actions against him. More than often, his clients would be left to his wits' end, as it would be too late and expensive to engage another vendor by the time they realized they had been scammed. Eugene would then demanded another set of payment to deliver what he had originally promised, overcharging the client an average of 100% to 200% more than what was agreed. Eventually, realizing that they had been played, most people would be too exhausted to pursue further action and prayed for the project to be over so they didn't have to deal with his antics anymore. This inaction probably fed Eugene's ego that he could probably get away with playing dirty every time. There are many more things I would like to rant about Eugene, but this is a ProRevenge sub, not recruiting hell, so most of you would like to get to the good stuff soon. So in my country, employers are required to pay a certain amount of tax for every local employee they hire. While it is not exactly tax, but it is obligated by the law, and negligence will result in a hefty fine and possibly jail time. These taxes are technically contributions for the employee's retirement funds, which is payable by every employer. Employer can deduct a certain percentage of the contributions from the employee's wages. This law has its own complications, since there are a certain group of people exempt from it, such as students or interns. Now, Eugene is a classic example of narc who thinks he's smarter than everyone else. He felt that he was smart enough to evade the law by drifting a contract with vague details to protect himself, and was deluded enough to believe that everyone believed him as long as he sounded convincing. In other words, he thought of people as sacks of potatoes with no opinion of their own. If anyone was to have perspective, it had to be his way or the wrong way. I stayed in Eugene's company for 4 months before I felt too mentally overwhelmed. On that day I left, I called in to check my contribution account, and just as I had expected, Eugene hadn't paid a single cent over the past 4 months. The officer on the other end of the line asked if I would like to report this as a case. Guess my answer. A week later, I received an update from the contribution board saying that Eugene had disputed my case, claiming that I was the only an intern and thus exempted from the law. This jerk was playing dirty as a last attempt to steal from me. As I had mentioned, Eugene thought of himself as a smart man and probably felt like the officer would rule in his case in his favor since he had world-class convincing skills and his vague contract would have protected him either way. Fun, Eugene. So you think you can get away with just like any other time? You must have gotten pretty confident by now. Well, not this time, Eugene. I wrote a 2 pages long email to the contribution board officer with every single reason and evidence I can find of how I'm not an intern like Eugene claimed. Knowing his antics, I went an extra mile to research all exempted group and wrote every possible reason on how I'm not in this category. Excessive? Yes. Worth it? Hell yes! I didn't hear from the officer for 2 weeks, and when I finally did, he informed me that Eugene had agreed to pay my contributions. Remember when I said employers are permitted to deduct a certain percentage from employees' wages? Due to his negligence, Eugene could no longer do that and had to pay the full amount on top of the fines that incurred along with it. If he had due to file abide by the law, it would have only be costed him a third of what he had to pay. So that's a bit of a-hole tax for you, Eugene. Now that I've gotten back what I was owed, I've decided to move on, but the story did not end there. A colleague of mine, NJ, who's still working for Eugene, told me that during 2 weeks I didn't hear from the officer, Eugene was busy fighting for his stand by giving every reason that I was an exempted individual. The officer, having seen my email, soon got tired of his nonsense and gave him a deadline to pay up or he will be brought up to the court. NJ said he had never seen Eugene so defeated before. To top it off, it seemed like karma finally caught up to him as he started losing more and more clients due to his unethical practices. The fine came to him when he had no clients that month, so it was a very obvious dent in his bank account. Ultimately, it was not a huge amount, but knowing Eugene's stinginess and ego, I think damage was done enough to qualify for this sub. What a disgusting, cringy scumbag. $550 per month, like OP said, was not that much, but he still had to take it due to lack of experience. And yet, this stingy scumbag still got the nerve to demand OP to work double the hours for the same amount of salary. OP didn't lie or anything. His CV had written everything down about his work experience. And yet, Eugene still want OP to be as freaking good as him. I don't even know as if he's good, but who got 10 years of experience already. Like, god dang. And it's not like Eugene was poor or anything, he was just being a manipulative fraud. What's even sadder is that, during initial phase, Eugene tried to talk OP just so that he could exploit his weaknesses. I mean, why would you choose this kind of path for business? When words got out, you'll soon file for bankruptcy in no time because no clients on earth would want to work with these kind of people. Eugene, for the name was quite fitting, but still, Mr. Krabs would be nowhere near as malicious as this guy. And then it's nice to see that he had to pay because the officer was really protecting its people. Like, very well done. Responsible and professional, despite Eugene's last attempt of dirty lies. That's it for today, fellow humans. Thanks for watching. Dank Doggo appreciates your time. If you enjoy our content and want to see more of us, stay tuned and subscribe. Don't forget to smash that like button or Doggo will cry. Also, you can always tell us your Doggo comments, your experiences in the comment section. I'll catch up with you guys later in the next video.